Welcome to today's deep dive. I am so glad you were joining us.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We have a really fascinating topic today.
We really do. And, before we jump in, I want to mention that we are going to set a very deliberate pace today.
Right, keeping things clear and accessible.
Exactly. Especially if you are listening to this to practice your English. We are going to speak naturally, but we are keeping the vocabulary clear and avoiding those super confusing complex academic phrases.
I think that approach actually fits perfectly with what we were talking about today, honestly.
It really does. So today's deep dive is based on a set of notes about how to, quote, AI-proof your career in the year 2026.
Which is something literally everyone is thinking about right now.
Oh, completely. And the overarching theme from our source material is this concept called the death of perfection.
Right, which sounds a little dramatic, but it is actually incredibly profound.
It is. I mean, think about the irony of our current era. It is 2026. Artificial intelligence can now generate these flawless, photorealistic images in 2 seconds. It can write with just perfect English grammar and process massive amounts of data without a single mathematical error.
It is the ultimate perfection machine.
Exactly. Yet, the mission of our deep dive today is to explore why our human flaws, our messiness, our emotions, our imperfections are actually becoming our absolute greatest professional assets.
Yeah, it is a total paradigm shift.
Yeah.
And to understand why perfection is basically a dead goal for humans, we first have to look at what the machines have already completely taken over in the modern workplace.
Right, let's set the stage. So think back to sitting at a small desk in grade school, staring down at a math test.
Oh boy, yeah. The anxiety.
Right. You spend all week memorizing the formulas. You carefully work through every single calculation, double-checking your division, making sure every decimal point is in the right spot.
And then a few days later, the teacher hands that paper back to you.
Yes. And there is a giant red 100% circled right at the top. No corrections, no notes in the margins. It's just flawless.
That feeling of hitting the absolute mark is so intoxicating.
It really is. We are conditioned from a very young age to chase that exact feeling, not just in school, but in everything we do.
Well, we crave that measurable outcome. There is this undeniable comfort in a binary world where you are either completely right or completely wrong.
Yeah, if the rules are set, you know exactly what a perfect job looks like. You just have to work hard enough to hit the target.
But then you graduate. You step into the real world.
Specifically, you step into the professional landscape of 2026, and suddenly you realize that perfect score means absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all, because we are operating in an environment that has flipped every single rule about human value completely upside down.
Right, and the source notes point this out so clearly. In 2026, AI can code, analyze, and report just infinitely better than most of us.
Yeah, the secret to surviving in your career right now is not working harder. And it is definitely not trying to compete with the machine's speed.
It sounds so counterintuitive, though, especially for anyone who has spent their whole life trying to avoid making mistakes.
Oh, for sure. But look at the traditional workplace mindset. For decades, essentially since the Industrial Revolution, humans tried to act like machines.
Right. Working faster, producing more output.
Exactly. We measured a good worker by their speed and their error rate. We wanted the accountant to calculate numbers like a literal calculator.
Just biological gears trying not to slow down the assembly line.
Yeah. Human value was directly tied to that machine-like output. But now that actual machines have perfected those tasks, the human definition of value has to completely shift.
From output to humanity, that is such a powerful shift.
It really connects back to a concept from some notes we looked at a previous week. This idea of embracing our flaws.
Oh, right. Because AI is basically flawless. Our flaws, our authentic human struggles, are what actually prove we are real.
Exactly. I mean, trying to compete with an AI on output today is just ridiculous.
It really is. It is like trying to outrun a high-speed magnetic levitation train on a bicycle.
Oh, that is a great analogy. Let's pull that apart a bit.
Yeah, so if you are on the bicycle, you are pedaling until your lungs burn. You are sweating. You are exhausted. You're putting every ounce of your energy into just moving forward.
Right, and meanwhile, the maglev train just glides past you in total silence.
Exactly. It does not sweat. It does not struggle. It operates on a completely different physical principle.
Trying to beat it at a game of pure speed is not just exhausting, it is just mathematically impossible.
Right. But let me push back on this for a second, or at least ask a question that I'm sure you are thinking about right now.
Sure, go for it.
If I am sitting at my desk and I make a massive careless error on a quarterly financial projection, my boss is not going to pull me into the office and praise my beautiful, authentic humanity, right?
Yeah, I'm the
I am probably going to get fired. So if we aren't valued for our output or how perfectly we analyze a report anymore, what exactly are we getting paid to do?
Well, that is the crucial distinction to make. The baseline of the work still needs to be accurate, right?
Yeah.
But the human is no longer the one generating that baseline.
Okay, so the AI is doing the math.
Yes. In a modern workflow, the AI generates the perfect financial projection. Your job is not to do the calculation.
Right.
Your job is to interpret what that calculation actually means for the highly emotional, deeply flawed human beings who are running the company.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you are working with the context while the machine handles the raw output.
Exactly. You are getting paid to work more humanly. And that brings us to the absolute necessity of what we call soft skills.
Soft skills. We used to look down on soft skills in the business world.
Oh, completely. They're considered nice to have, but not essential. The hard skills like coding or advanced calculus, those are the premium skills.
But the source material highlights something amazing. It points out that AI cannot navigate a difficult conversation with a crying colleague.
Right. And that is such a vivid example. It is all about leading with the heart, not just the head.
Let's deeply explore that specific crying colleague scenario because I think it is brilliant.
Let's do it. Imagine you are in the office. You and a colleague have been working on a massive project for 6 months.
And it just completely falls apart.
Exactly. The client pulls out, the funding is gone. You're sitting in a meeting room, and the stress finally breaks them. They put their head in their hands and start to cry.
It happens. Work is stressful, but why does AI fail so completely in this exact moment?
Well, think about what an AI would actually do in that room. It has a camera. It registers the moisture on your colleague's cheeks.
Right.
It analyzes their facial microexpressions. It accesses a database of corporate HR protocols, and it formulates a perfectly mathematical response.
So it says something robotic like, I observe that you are experiencing acute distress. I am programmed to offer you support.
Yeah. How would you react if something said that to you while you were crying?
I would be so angry. Or just completely alienated. It feels incredibly cold and hollow.
Even though the grammar is perfect and it is technically polite, it makes the emotional trauma worse.
Because comforting a crying person requires shared vulnerability.
Exactly. AI has no heart to break, so it cannot offer genuine comfort. It has absolutely no skin in the game.
It does not know what it feels like to fear losing a job.
No.
Yeah.
And that is why soft skills are actually the hardest skills to master, because they deal with human imperfection and just completely unpredictable emotions.
When a human sits next to that crying colleague, we usually say clumsy things, right? We might just sit in awkward silence.
Or just hand them a tissue.
Yeah, but that clumsy reaction brings actual comfort because the person crying knows that we are also fragile.
Right. Leading with the head, using logic, data, perfect grammar. That is now a commodity you can just get from software.
Leading with the heart is the premium skill. Empathy is like a fingerprint.
Oh, I like that. How so?
Well, even if an AI tries to copy a fingerprint, it can only print a flat picture of it. It does not have the real physical ridges and lines that come from actual human experience.
The texture.
Yeah.
AI can only give you the flat, two-dimensional picture. Empathy provides the texture.
Exactly. So if empathy and leading with the heart are the new vital skills, how does this change the way we actually communicate at work?
It changes everything. It brings us to what the notes call the evolution of modern professional English.
Yes, the death of jargon and the rise of cultural intelligence.
In 2026, the most valuable professional English is no longer about big words or corporate jargon.
Right. Nobody wants to hear you say we need to synergize our paradigms anymore.
Thank goodness. In the past, people used that complicated business jargon to sound smart,
Oh, yes.
to sound perfect and professional.
It was like a form of armor. You use 20 complicated words when 5 simple ones would work.
Right, you signal to the room, look at my extensive vocabulary, I am a serious professional. But today, because AI can generate perfectly complex text instantly, using big words just makes you sound like a robot.
That is so true. You ask an AI to write a highly complex corporate memo, and it does it in 1 second.
So when a human does it now, it actually destroys their credibility. It hides the humanity that proves they are a real person.
Which is incredibly liberating, especially for you listening right now if you are learning English.
Oh, absolutely. It removes so much pressure.
For decades, professionals who are non-native English speakers lived with this constant anxiety. They stressed over having perfect grammar or knowing every fancy corporate buzzword.
They felt immense pressure to achieve grammatical perfection just to have a seat at the table.
But the notes highlight that the new goal isn't grammatical perfection at all. It is cultural intelligence.
Yes, cultural intelligence. It is the ability to connect across different backgrounds and to really understand the human being behind the screen.
Focus on connection, not correction.
Exactly. Imagine a non-native speaker is pitching a brilliant idea on a video call. In their excitement, they use broken grammar, or they struggle to find the exact English word.
A decade ago, people might have judged them.
Right, or dismissed the idea because it wasn't polished. But today, cultural intelligence means you look past the imperfect vocabulary and you engage directly with the passion.
You value the messy human truth over a polished, empty, algorithmic pitch.
Yes. But that leads to a very practical question.
Right, which is, if we are throwing away the big jargon, what exactly should we be saying? How do we put this cultural intelligence into practice during a messy, imperfect meeting?
Well, the source material actually provides a specific human toolkit for this. 3 essential phrases designed for navigating the modern workplace.
I love these phrases. They are so actionable. Let's open up this toolkit.
Okay, the first phrase in the toolkit is to read the room.
To read the room. It sounds simple, but it's actually really nuanced.
It is. By definition, to read the room means to understand the emotions and thoughts of the people in a room.
And the source explicitly notes that AI cannot feel the room during a tense negotiation, right?
Exactly. Because AI relies on explicit data. It reads transcripts.
Yeah.
But reading a room is all about unspoken energy.
The invisible data. Body language, silences, nervous habits.
Right. Think about a meeting where a manager announces a major restructuring, departments are merging, the manager finishes speaking, and the room goes completely silent.
A robot just logs that as a 5-second pause. Meeting adjourned.
But a human knows that silence is deafening. You see the crossed arms. You see people exchanging panicked glances.
AI reads the transcript, humans read the feelings. You realize you have to stop the meeting and address the heavy energy.
Which flows perfectly into the second phrase in our toolkit, interpersonal dynamics.
Interpersonal dynamics, basically the way people interact and communicate with each other in a group.
Right. If reading the room is about the general mood, interpersonal dynamics is about the invisible web of relationships between specific people.
You know, I always compare this to a live jazz band playing music.
Oh, that is a great visual. Jazz is all about improvisation.
Exactly. If you program an AI to play a piece of sheet music, it plays every note perfectly. The timing is exact down to the millisecond.
But a live human jazz band is constantly responding to each other's flaws and energy.
Right. The drummer might notice that the singer needs to take a breath, so the drummer subtly slows down the tempo. They are adjusting to human needs in real time.
They're listening to the space between the notes. And in the workplace, a manager does the exact same thing.
Yeah, you know that 2 of your employees clash when they work closely together, so you don't put them on the same microproject.
You understand their emotional history. A project management software can't do that. It just assigns tasks based on availability.
Only a human knows if the emotional dynamic will actually allow the task to succeed.
And that emotional history brings us to the third and probably most important phrase in the toolkit, to navigate conflict.
To navigate conflict, which means to find a way through a disagreement successfully.
Notice the specific word choice there. The notes emphasize the word navigate.
Right. We don't say solve conflict.
Exactly, because conflict isn't a math problem to be solved perfectly by a computer. It is a storm to be steered through.
A storm to be steered through. I love that phrasing.
When you think of a problem, a computer looks at data and finds the single correct answer. But human disagreement is rarely about facts.
No, it is usually about ego, or feeling disrespected, or clashing values.
Right. Disagreements are the ultimate proof of human imperfection, and managing them successfully requires immense empathy.
Let's say 2 employees are arguing over a budget. Employee A wants digital ads for quick revenue. Employee B wants a community event to build brand loyalty.
If an AI steps in, it calculates the numbers, looks at short-term projections, and says employee A is mathematically correct. Conflict solved.
But employee B is left feeling furious and humiliated. The logical decision was perfect, but the emotional outcome is a disaster.
Exactly. The team's dynamic is poisoned. But navigating that conflict means sitting down in the messiness.
Listening to their underlying fears, finding a compromise where both people feel respected, even if the math isn't perfectly optimized.
It takes time, and it is exhausting. But steering through that storm preserves the relationship.
And preserving human relationships is the most valuable thing you can do now.
Completely. So having armed our listeners with these three phrases, reading the room, interpersonal dynamics, and navigating conflict, let's pull back and look at the ultimate takeaway.
Let's recap the core message here, because this is huge for your career. Your value isn't your output anymore.
No, your value is your impact on the people around you.
We must stop competing with the machine's speed. We have to lean entirely into our human warmth.
The death of perfection is actually the birth of a more authentic, forgiving, and emotionally intelligent workplace.
It is a relief, honestly. We have permission to bring our messy, stumbling, authentic selves to work.
Because those flaws prove we are real.
So before we sign off, I want to ask you, the person listening right now, a direct question from our source material.
Yeah, this is a great exercise.
Think about your own life and work. What is one soft skill that you are truly proud of?
Are you the person who notices when someone feels left out of a conversation? Are you the friend who knows how to sit in silence when someone is grieving?
Identify that human strength. Take pride in it. That is your career moat.
And I want to leave everyone with the final, slightly provocative thought to ponder.
Oh, let's hear it.
If AI eventually takes over all the boring, logical, perfect tasks, does that mean the workplace of the future won't be cold and robotic at all?
Wait, really? You think it will be the opposite?
Yeah. Think about it. Will it actually become the most deeply emotional, chaotic, and wonderfully human environment we have ever created?
Oh, wow. Because if the machines do all the math, we are left with nothing but each other.
Exactly. We are just left to handle the messy magic.
That is an amazing thought to end on. Do not fear your imperfections. Embrace the friction and keep leaning into your human heart.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
We will see you next time on The Deep Dive.